you've kind of touched already on what I wanted to talk about, but it has to do with feeling those what so-called negative emotions.
Yeah.
They come up, the situation comes up, and then I get so wrapped up in the head and the thinking, even though there's something that I also know that they're there. It's this mix, and I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. I don't know. The one emotion was jealousy, and another one was bored, frustration, wanting things to be different. And then the thinking just kept going on and on and on. And, well, it should be like this, and I should do this, and they should that, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd notice, well, I know it's a seeking energy. My chin would be jutting forward so badly that I'd even have a headache. But it wouldn't go. I don't know. I could go to the body, but then it went right back to the head.
Yeah. Well, with these things, they're never quick fixes, so it's never going to be like you just put your attention. My favourite way of doing it when you have a really intense emotion is to go and speak it out, because if you don't speak it out, you won't be able to, the person won't be able to put the attention in the body for very long, because it'll keep going back up to the stories. So the way that I do it, or the way that I used to do it, is, and what I show people often in one-to-one sessions, is speaking it out. But it's really hard for me to show it to you without you doing it, which you most probably don't want to do in front of 112 people. So it's really hard to point it out unless you're willing to say in front of everyone all your deep down thoughts. I could try and do an example for you, but it's really hard because I have to make it up. Like, it's not true what I'm doing.
None of what I have going on is that horrible that it wouldn't matter if others heard. I guess we could see.
But it's not actually that level that I'll guide you to. I'll guide you down deeper than that level, which might be hard to do in front of other people. But if you're game, then we can have a go.
Well, shall we see?
Yeah, okay.
We can see. Yeah. And if it gets too ugly, then we'll time out.
Yeah. So just if it gets too much, then just say that you don't want to do anymore.
Okay.
And we'll just stop, and that's totally okay, because sometimes there's not things, and there's things also I don't like to share with everyone.
Okay.
Like, there's also things.
Okay.
So it's not that you're bad or wrong or non-enlightened or anything for not wanting to share things.
Okay.
So basically, if you just shut your eyes, the other thing is do you have that emotion now? Do you have?
Probably bring up the jealous one.
Okay,
maybe.
so you go for the jealousy one. So if you just shut your eyes and go to the jealousy one. So just bring up the story again and what it is that really gets you. And whereabouts do you feel that in the body?
In my throat.
Yeah. So what this exercise is about is letting it come up to the max. This is, normally you're taught that you've got to not feel it or push it away, or even in spirituality it's kind of going beyond the feeling, but this one is we're going to bring it up to the max. So this time it's totally welcome. This isn't about trying to feel it and get rid of it. This is really about letting it come out to its worst possible degree. So if you just put your attention in the throat, and what is it that you're really jealous or angry about?
Well, one, it's shifting to my stomach, and then there probably I'd even say that there's not enough room. Things should be going differently. Other people shouldn't have things that they have that I don't. I should have been invited.
Okay, but I want you to go up a level now. So when I say upper level, I mean become more fickle. Now, obviously, this is a little bit fake because you've got such a deeper understanding of yourself, and there's so many different levels that you could reflect and see it on. But just do the fake, like the more higher level. So if you can imagine the person that you're particularly angry with, and just tell them how angry you are, and don't try and be spiritual or nice about it. Just be a total asshole. Say what you'd really like to say in your worst moments.
That's kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that, interestingly, that's the part that's probably the skipped over part.
Yeah.
I'm more willing to go to the deeper level than to actually say it out loud.
Yeah. This is why I was like, it's because, and the reason is because we don't want to see that ugly side of ourselves, and so therefore, it sometimes is easier to do the more high intellectual concepts in a way, or to go to a deeper level and see that the jealousy is not true. But really, what you've got to do, and you can do this by yourself, is actually really get to know what you're feeling, and really allow yourself to be angry with them. Not act it out with them in any way. Do this by yourself in a private room, but really see what's there, and actually allow, and this might be the first time in your life, but really allow yourself to hate someone. And I know this sounds like the worst thing possible, but it's the suppression of that hatred. It's not being allowed to feel angry at someone that keeps it in sync. And I know that you understand deeper than that, and you understand the human, but you just have to go back to being fake. Just let it out, because it's that part of us that we've oppressed for so many years. And so we've felt this hatred towards people, and even in spirituality or in meditation or the like deeper understanding or therapy of ourselves, we still go to the higher explanation rather than the basic instinctual, I hate you, da, 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 da. And if you could do that with me, so this is what I do with people often in one-to-one sessions, once you can do the more fickle level, then what we do is we then switch it over to the anger towards God, because actually all of these problems come towards feeling rejected from wholeness. But it's like you've got to get in contact with that anger and let it come out of your body. It's so much easier to go to the deeper, and it's great that you've done the deeper and you've really understood the deeper and you've gone to the deeper feelings, but there also has to be the fickleness and just really shouting it out. Like you can go to your room and like really shout it out as if you're saying it, and really understand. And the more that you understand that you have this in you, the more compassion you'll feel for others. Because when you understand that you're not perfect or any better or worse than anyone else, and you really understand the human functioning and what it is when separation happens, then you have ultimate compassion for anybody, for a murderer, for somebody that kills someone out of jealousy. But we're so afraid of it because, maybe we have at point felt like really murderous feelings, like really wanting, because everybody will have. We are predators, and everybody does. When you suppress a feeling, it builds it. Like one thing that they've discovered with paedophiles is the best way to heal a paedophile is for the paedophile to be allowed to be honest about his paedophilic inclinations. When the paedophile acts is when it's in denial and when it's unspoken. And this is where we do nasty things. So you'll feel this underneath. So then when you're in conversation with someone that's jealous, you won't even notice it. But what your energy will wanting to do to them is suppress them. That energy underneath will keep wanting to suppress them or to jibe at them. And we don't even understand it. It will just be happening automatically and robotically. But everybody has it. It's not like any of us are freaks to have it. When you're separate, you always have this hatred side. When you're not separate, you're still going to have jealousy and anger, but it's not going to be repressed. So therefore, it just comes out and expresses itself in that moment, and it doesn't go into the timeline.
So what we've been taught, because even as you tell me that, there's part of me that says, okay, I could tell you what I feel, or I could, think of that person and say what I felt. But then there's also another voice in the head saying, no, you shouldn't, because that's not nice, or it wasn't really that bad, or you shouldn't be that jealous, it doesn't warrant jealousy. So all of those thoughts come in and then probably get stuck in my throat.
Exactly. But you see, as a kid, when a kid feels jealous, it will just pick up a toy and smash it, if it's jealous over a toy. And not saying that we need to go back to that action, because we've learned beyond that as humans, but there has to be an acknowledgement of that feeling. The lack of acknowledgement of our feelings is what creates it to get stuck. We're totally in denial of it because we've been taught you're not allowed to be jealous, you're not allowed to feel these things. And even now, if you went into a spiritual group, the spiritual group would kind of look down at you if you admitted that you felt jealous or if you felt hateful towards someone. But I would be cheering, because this is what I mean when you've got to be honest. And it doesn't mean that that's true. And as you begin to do this, you'll begin to see with everyone else, like, so even, I get jealous, and when I get jealous, I tell people, if I am jealous about something, I'll tell someone that I'm jealous about it. It makes me look like an idiot. But I would rather be the idiot and be the one that everyone thinks, poor, pitiful person, than be denying, because I know what denial does. But a lot of people can't handle it, and, that's just the way it is. You just have to take their wrath if they can't handle it, because just to suddenly be like, oh, I'm jealous of your beautiful house, people are like, what an evil person.
Even though we do think that.
Yeah.
Even though that's there.
Yeah.
Right?
But we don't even actually acknowledge it. We go in someone's beautiful house and we feel uncomfortable. And the reason we actually feel uncomfortable is because we're not even acknowledging what our heart is saying. Actually, when you acknowledge the jealous feelings and there's no longer a pressing of them, it all kind of feels like love. But this is what I mean, where you've got to be honest as to what this instrument is. Humans are animals that move towards pleasure and avoid pain. And there's nothing wrong with the spectrum of feelings. When we become out of balance is when we deny our spectrum of feelings and when we deny other people's spectrum of feelings. This is when the separation, and then we try to live in this fake world of being someone that we're not. But this takes such courage to step out of it, because everybody else is pretending they're nice. Nobody's nice or nobody's evil. What actually I would define as evil, although ultimately I don't think anything is evil, but the nastiness comes when we're in denial. Because if you walk in someone's house and you feel jealous and you don't acknowledge it in yourself, you'll put them down passively, aggressively, without even a consciousness of it. You'll keep jibing and jabbing at them. You won't even know it. But if you just acknowledge, oh, I feel jealous now, then that action won't happen.
And if you've experienced that too, right? Because I've felt someone do that to me. So it's the same kind of thing.
It's the same thing. But no, what happens when you're a separate person is you'll judge them as bad and you'll be in complete denial that you do it. Sometimes you'll be able to open up to it. Sorry?
And then you get angry for doing that too, because somewhere along the line you acknowledge it, but then you're mad at them. Yeah. Like I'll get pissed at myself for getting pissed.
Yeah, and basically what this is just going back to whatever you are in the moment, and then all these passive aggressive games really begin to stop. You just are what you are in the moment, which is a human with all its frailties and all its beauties and all its divine, and we're constantly changing and not trying to be perfect. We're all trying to present a perfect person to each other, and we're not. None of us are. I get angry, I get jealous, I get greedy, all of the things that everybody else gets, but there's an absolute honesty with it in every moment that arises. So I'm not deluding myself by a story of who I am in time. It's our story, and that story becomes an energetic contraction, which then makes it feel like somebody's having an experience in here, and that somebody's looking through these eyes where there is nobody. And when it's seen that you are that love which is beyond the person, you're not actually the person, then you could say in a way it's total forgiveness of that person. You see, all things that are alive, in our way of saying it, on this planet, all of them are trying to grow. And so therefore there's going to be competition, and there's going to be not nice things and what we define as nice things. The tree's going to take the water from the soil and try to not let the other trees take it. That's what we are. But actually what happens, the more you're honest with yourself, the more compassionate you become, because you really understand what it is to be these instruments. So the instrument becomes naturally more compassionate. It can really understand when somebody has a tantrum. It's like, yeah, that's annoying, rather than how dare they, who do they think they are, or afraid of them. They're like, it doesn't mean that you become really passive yourself. You are your instrument, which has reactions normally similar to your parents. Like it will have reaction towards things.
So the fact that I didn't let it out, the fact that I was denying it, the fact that that's why I got stuck in my head.
Yeah, so the
Then
energy, and that's why you can't keep the attention in the feeling, because you keep trying to justify it to make those feelings okay for you. So your sense of self wants those feelings and what happened to fit in with who it thinks it is.
which is nice.
Yeah, whichever identity it is that you.
Which is nice. And
Yeah. So then to feel like, I mean, jealousy can come with some bizarre images. You want to just, you like, I want to hit their place or destroy their toy like a kid, you know. And there's nothing wrong, you know. Khaleesi is exactly the same. When you look at animals, you know, Khaleesi will very quickly steal or take something, another dog's toy if she can. You know, she just does the same. And I've noticed that if another dog comes into the apartment, or even sometimes a human, I see she runs round and picks up all her food or her toys or anything that she's got, and I can see her like trying to swallow them really quickly.
she doesn't have to share.
Yeah. And we come from the same DNA pool as a dog. We're a mammal as well. We are set up to move towards pleasure and avoid pain, but we're like, no, we must be this godly like creature. But this really is what's been talked about here. This really is an act of courage to do this, because everybody else is going to be pretending they're nice. So, you know. So you've got to admit that you're not nice to people that are in the dream that they're nice.
Yeah.
Because if the reason that that's happened in the fake sense of self, because being the nice one is the most powerful. If you're nice, then no one can be mean to you. Everyone has to give to you. You know, you win if you're nice. You know, accepting that you're not nice and admitting your imperfections is a huge thing. But it's so beautiful and it's so worth it, because each time you do it, you become more and more closer to the source. What removes you from the source is trying to be something that you're not. It's like God set up the most tricky game. It's like like he gave us this self-awareness, and then through this self-awareness we're trying to be something other than what we are, and by doing that we come further and further away from God.
Yeah. So because the nice gives you special, the nice gives you being seen, the other one, yeah.
And the thing that it gives you the most, what it gives you the most, is it gives you power over people.
Yeah.
If you're nice, you can control them better.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really evil. No, actually, that's just being human. Look at all other animals. Like, it's just being human. But actually, when you become more and more yourself, you'll play less and less of these games. Not because you're becoming nicer, but because pleasure is just pleasure, and actually your natural instinct is more in line and balanced. When you are in the mind, you know, and when you're in this, it's, you know, pleasure is very important. Pleasure is God. So therefore we do harsh things. But mostly being nice is about controlling others. If I can be nice to you, then therefore you have to give to me endlessly. But it's hard work maintaining the nice person.
It is, because you can feel that you're not really that way.
Yeah.
And then you know the lying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a knowing of the lying.
Yeah. And the nicest thing you can do for everyone, and the most political activist thing I can think that anyone could ever do, which is going to sound crazy, even though I'm a vegetarian and I'm really into animal rights, I actually think that the most compassionate thing that anyone can do is be themselves. And that's most probably, for most humans, the most scariest thing. Because actually when you're yourself, you kind of disappear. You just are acting, you just are, it's just coming out. And the pleasures and the wants are just coming out, and there's nobody that's removed from it trying to be something else than what they are. So therefore, there's no separation left.
I think too, there's a fear. I mean, because it has come out before. I mean, situations will make it come out, and eventually, you know, and then it's like, blah.
Yeah.
But I think also there's a fear that it will be, and you've talked about this before, that, you know, we're generally nice anyway, but I think there's a fear that the meanness will come up,
Yes.
or it's going to be really awful.
The meanness, yeah, and the meanness is there when you're separate. the meanness is because it builds up over time. Like, you know, being fake and always trying to be nice, it's not just you, but everybody, it really puts a toll, because actually what you're saying to yourself is, I'm not good enough to be myself. I have to be something better than what I am. And so actually it does build up a lot of self-hatred and hatred towards the outside for making you do it. You're not even conscious of it. So there is this like nastiness that wants to come out, but this is why doing this sort of thing of speaking it out to yourself in the bathroom is really great, because it stops it then, because it's not the other person's fault, it stops it then going on the other person. And so actually, even though you are afraid of it and hearing what it has to say, doing it by yourself in this controlled circumstance is actually good, because it's less likely it's going to come out on someone around you. But even if it does, you know, we're all human. Even if it does, I'm sure they've all done it too. It's just the thing is what you've got to take when you do it, when you emotionally throw up on someone, is that then they have some power over you, because they don't ultimately, but because they've seen you at your ugliest, they're like, and they're not even admitting it to themselves. So then they're like, look how wonderful I am. You owe me now for doing that.
But that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's true, because I felt that before too, when someone has done that to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it's just and it's just that we aren't bad as humans. We're just very intelligent animals. And if you looked at animals are all playing these games. And basically what waking up is that instrument becomes very simple again. Its games are just coming out innocently, rather than this removed person that's trying to live in an idea of itself. And the idea of itself is a godlike person that's always nice. No wonder we're all suffering like the humans suffer. That's terrible. To try to live up to that.
Yeah, and then eventually it implodes.
Yeah, and you get like your jaw aching, like physical, like this is really physically hurts, that your jaw aches, your neck aches, your mind the thoughts are going crazy, because basically what's happening is the computer can't cope with the input. It can't cope with what you're feeling and what it wants to tell about itself. So therefore you just have to be honest, go to the bathroom and really say what you would like to say to the person that you're jealous. And really let it out. And also you can take humour of it and be like, humans, like...
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever judge Khaleesi. And Khaleesi, you know, I've seen her do things that if a human did that to other humans, would be like, like, you know, I've seen Khaleesi be a real arsehole, but I would never judge her. I'm just like, well, that's the impulse there at that moment. But because we believe we've got free will, we believe that we have to be a godlike creature, which isn't true. And is impossible.
We control it.
Yeah. And you can't control it. It just causes a...
Totally.
This is what...
My head was hurting, my head was hurting.
But this is such an amazing seeing, because this is why people have to take... Like, I've heard that one of the biggest medicines they take in Australia, this is when I lived in Australia, I was listening to a radio program, they said that the biggest... over the pill, the birth control pill, the first number one drug that was sold was antidepressants for backache. So they didn't even give you antidepressants for being depressed, they gave you it for backache. And basically, the way I see it is when you're contracted and you're trying to be someone other than you are, you're constantly tensing yourself. So that experience that you had, it's like showing you like the tension, and that tension that you hold in your body makes it feel like there's a solid experiencer in here. Like that energy is what makes it feel like something's here, when actually there is this boundlessness looking out.
Yeah, I totally felt very much like a person, very much like, and I think my spaces between these events are big enough that then it even feels more exaggerated.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
But,
and also when you change your circumstances and when you change your life, these things will come up more, because our patterns are to avoid these things. So when we change what we're doing or the way we're living, then they tend to come up more because we've not got our security net of moving on. So we'll develop things. So So say a typical one is when we come out of a relationship, like a romantic relationship, often people go very quickly into another one, and that helps us actually get over the other one. And that one that you had helped us get over the other, and it goes all the way back to the mum and dad, and to the blame on the mum and dad for taking away wholeness, because you blame your parents in some bizarre way for, and we do this with all types of things. So we do it with maybe like dieting or the way we look, like we just go on from one obsession to another obsession, and we're always fixated in our obsessions. And so therefore, when we change it and our obsessions aren't allowed to play out, then these uncomfortable things come up in the body more, because you're not being able to feed that obsession. And normally we're just constantly moving on from one to the other, one to the other. And change is when they come up more stronger. And so getting into non-duality or listening to this subject, it begins to change you. And through changing your patterns and ways of being, you begin to experience things like this, where you realize how intense the suffering is. In the past, like 10 years ago, before you're into this subject, you could have just bitched to your friend about what a bitch this person was, or whatever it was. You'd have done something to feed that, or to pacify it. So.
Totally. So, and you recommend verbalizing it as opposed to writing it?
You can write it as well, but yeah, you could write it as well. But the most important thing is to do it as honest as you can. So wait until that energy is really strong in you, and rather than trying to understand it or be nice or be spiritual or get to the bottom of it, be as fake as you can. Eventually, when you get to, and this might go on for days that you have to do this, because this is years and years that you've been playing this game at, and then eventually you'll get to a point where you can begin to blame God or blame your mum or your dad. So eventually you'll be able to switch your friend or whoever it is that you're jealous of, you'll be able to switch it to God or to an earlier memory of your first relationship or your mum, your dad, and then if that doesn't feel right, switch back to being angry with your friend again. But see if you can switch and be like, I hate you, God, for making me separate. I hate you, mum, for... So you like, or those jealousies. So see if you can remember another jealousy that you've had when you were younger. But only do it when it feels right. Just stay angry, and don't do it all day. Just do it for when it gets really intense, intense, and just keep staying angry with her until you can move to something deeper. Don't try and push the stages. You've got to remember this is a huge force, not only your lifetime, but you've got the whole of humanity that have been, like, not the whole of humanity, but thousands and thousands of years of humans being separate. So just give it the time. And ultimately it's no time, but just be honest to it. Don't get into that thought pattern, oh, I've done this so many times, or how much more do I have to do this? Just keep being honest to what you are in that moment, and forget about time.
The way deeper too.
Yeah, and jumping deep.
Way deep.
Yeah.
Even as you're talking there, I can go, I mean, I can feel it right in the pit of my stomach. I can feel the lack. I can feel the whole. So, but that's jumping.
Yeah, that's jumping. And if you'll keep going back to your mind and circling on the story, then you've just got to go back to the fickle story.
Okay.
You can jump down to the base of it, but that won't break it. You just have to go back to the fickle. If you keep going back to the story, it's because there's still interest in that story.
Okay. So then and I guess there is the seeing that the story is fickle, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a stupid story. I mean, I could already tell it was a stupid story.
Yeah. But you just have to, you don't even tell it like a story. Speak it out as if you're speaking to them.
Okay.
Like, be really just say everything. If you could take all the caps off and the anger.
Okay. All right, I'm game.
Nice. Well, that's good, because it kind of got out of you having to do it on YouTube, because it's like people watching back. Yeah.
But we're good.
But we got to explore it.
Thank you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for calling. That was lovely speaking with you. Thank you.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.